Okay, let's dive into this. When you hear the name Cristiano Ronaldo, you probably instantly picture absolute, flawless physical perfection, right? But what if I told you that the actual foundation of all that perfection isn't just his unbelievable talent or that relentless work ethic we always hear about? What if it's actually a deeply guarded 30-year-old secret? Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're completely unpacking a revelation that absolutely shatters the public persona of one of the most famous people on the planet. We're going to get right in and look closely at the hidden emotional engine that's literally been driving his entire legendary career. $1 billion. Yeah, you heard that right. That is the estimated net worth of a guy who has essentially built a global empire on being this invincible machine. I mean, we're talking about an athlete with 5 Ballon d'Or awards, endless endorsement deals, and a brand that literally spans the globe. From the outside looking in, his life just looks like this unbroken string of absolute victories. He's kind of the ultimate symbol of having it all totally figured out, you know? Just a completely bulletproof icon. And hey, it's not just the wealth either. Think about this staggering number, over 900 career goals. Just let that sink in for a second. 900. The sheer obsessive consistency you need to actually hit that mark over 2 decades is, well, it's almost unimaginable. And because of these crazy stats, the world just kind of naturally assumes they know absolutely everything about this perfect athlete. We track his diet, his training routines, even his sleep schedules. We look at all that data and think, yep, his story is fully written and perfectly understood. But then, something shifted. In 2024, the machine broke. See, the crucial point here is that this explainer, it's actually not about football. It's not about the records or the astronomical wealth or the trophies. We're talking about a highly unexpected, totally raw 30-year secret that Cristiano Ronaldo finally decided to reveal to the world. A secret that completely reframes every single one of those 900 goals we just talked about. Which instantly begs the question, what could a billionaire athlete with 900 goals possibly be hiding? I mean, when someone sits at the absolute peak of human physical achievement and wealth, we just assume there are no dark corners left in their life, right? We only see the tip of the iceberg, the roaring crowds, the private jets, lifting those championship cups. But down beneath the surface, there was this massive emotional anchor dragging him forward. An incredibly heavy truth he'd been carrying completely on his own. The real turning point came in early 2024. Ronaldo sat down for this incredibly candid interview with journalist Piers Morgan on Talk TV, and it basically changed everything. In a moment of intense vulnerability that literally left even his biggest, closest fans totally speechless, he admitted something profound. He confessed that for most of his life, he actually hadn't just been chasing success. He had been running away from it. Specifically, running away from a single overpowering emotion, the deep, unprocessed grief of losing his father. Let's move to and see how this builds, because to truly understand this, we've got to look at the timeline of his life. Back in September 2005, his father, Jose Dina Severo, passed away from liver failure, directly linked to severe alcoholism. Ronaldo was just 20 years old at the time. 20! He was this young, incredibly promising star at Manchester United, just barely beginning to grasp the greatness ahead of him. And the timing of it was just this devastating collision of soaring professional heights crashing right into a catastrophic personal low. To really feel the weight of this loss, we have to understand the environment that shaped him early on. The reality of his childhood in Madeira is just a stark contrast to that billion-dollar empire we mentioned earlier. He wasn't born into any kind of privilege, at all. His childhood home literally had a roof made out of metal sheets. His mother, Dolores, worked relentlessly as a cook and a cleaner just to keep a basic meal on the table. And his father was a gardener who battled the really heavy demons of alcoholism every single day. Cristiano went to school in torn shoes. He was a scared, hungry boy watching his father slowly self-destruct. And that intense struggle, that's what forged his entire identity. And when that struggling father passed away, the 20-year-old son simply did not pause. As he so bravely confessed in that interview, "I never properly grieved. I never said a real goodbye." So instead of taking a break to actually process that massive trauma, he just stepped right back onto the pitch. He kept playing, he kept scoring, and he kept smiling for all those cameras. He trained himself to completely lock away the pain, leaving this silent, unhealed wound just sitting inside him for nearly 19 years. But locking the pain away didn't mean he forgot, not even close. He actually made a private promise to himself, one that traveled with him from Manchester all the way to Madrid to Turin and eventually to Riyadh.
First, he vowed to secretly dedicate every single goal and every single trophy to his dad. Second, he made sure to keep a photograph of his father in every single house he ever lived in. And third, he made it this strict, totally unwavering ritual to look at that photograph every single morning. He systematically anchored his entire daily existence to the memory of the man he lost. Then, during that same 2024 interview, he uttered a sentence that, well, it just absolutely breaks your heart. He looked up and said, "I wish he could have seen me play just one more time." Just really think about that for a second. More than the $1 billion, more than all those broken records, more than the global adoration, all he truly wanted, his absolute deepest desire, was just for his dad to see him play one more time. That single painful wish reveals so much more about the true heart of Cristiano Ronaldo than 2 decades of football analysis ever could.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it elevates our understanding from just a typical sports story into a really fascinating psychological case study. Sports psychologists who watched this interview immediately pointed to a concept known as grief-driven motivation. Basically, this is a condition where a person channels deep, unprocessed loss into a relentless pursuit of extraordinary achievement. So his unbelievable hunger to succeed wasn't just standard athletic ambition. It was actually a deeply ingrained survival mechanism, totally designed to help him cope with profound grief.
And this brilliantly illustrates the duality of his entire career. On the surface, right, we see the actions. He trains harder than everyone else, he absolutely refuses to accept defeat, and he celebrates with this explosive intensity. But beneath all that are the hidden meanings. He's training to make an absent father proud. He's escaping the physical hunger of his youth. And with every celebration, he's sending a message to the afterlife. Literally, his deepest pain became his ultimate on-pitch superpower. Which brings us to 2024. He's currently playing over in Saudi Arabia for Al Nassr and inevitably facing the twilight of his athletic career. And during this period of reflection, he spoke really openly about an absolute terror he holds regarding his eventual retirement. This revelation takes that 30-year secret into one final, incredibly poignant emotional turn. Because you see, it's not about the loss of the spotlight for him, it's about the fear of losing something much, much deeper. When we think of retirement, the world just naturally assumes it means unlimited money, fame, hitting the beach, cementing a perfect legacy. But for Ronaldo, it means something genuinely terrifying. He feels that football is his only language, the only bridge he has left to his father. It's been this continuous, 2-decade-long conversation. Stepping off the pitch for good means that thread of communication is cut. The conversation ends. And to him, it feels like he'll be losing his father all over again. So the deeply thought-provoking question we are finally left with is this. When the final whistle eventually blows, who will he be talking to? Knowing this context changes absolutely everything we thought we knew about him. He was never just playing a game of football. For his entire adult life, he has been desperately trying to communicate with his father. It completely forces us to look past the perfect machine, past the billion-dollar brand and the endless records, and finally see the human being underneath it all. A boy from Madeira, still out there on the pitch, just hoping his dad is watching.